This is the business of art. G'day, Paul here, and welcome to this week's episode of the Business of Art. So today I'm talking about strategy. I am going to lay out the basic starting point for how I'm going to approach this new tactic in building an audience and growing a profitable creative business. So as I mentioned last time, I stopped producing live theatre a couple of years ago because I wasn't making profit. And what I've realised is I wasn't making profit, very simply, because I wasn't getting an audience there. Now, the work was great and the audiences that saw the work really enjoyed the work. But what I realised was that every time I did a show, I was trying to get a brand new audience. The last couple of shows that I did as part of small theatre festivals, and that was really great for some exposure. It was great to have an infrastructure. I learnt a lot by doing that. In hindsight, now I realise that one of the main things about that was that I didn't feel like I had any connection at all to my audience. So the tickets were all purchased through the theatre festival. So the theatre festival had the direct connection to the audience, and really all the contact we got was when the audience turned up to see the show. A big part of growing an audience that's going to stay with you is having that direct communication with them. And so what I realize now is that I need to have and control the connection point with the audience. Capture email addresses and essentially build a contact list of people that are interested in the work that I do. So the initial starting point is going to be all about choosing a target market that I'm going to hone in on and focus the effort of marketing and conversation and content creation. But essentially, the shows that I create will be dedicated for that target market. It could be anything. I mean, I love Shakespeare. I love other classic texts. I love kids shows. I love sci-fi. I love adventure. I mean, I could literally pick any one of those. So rather than jumping around and just sort of pursuing whatever I felt like doing at the time, I'm going to become quite strategic. And so instead of perhaps producing a Shakespeare play and then following that up with something a lot more contemporary, where a Shakespeare audience may not be as interested in that new contemporary work, I'm going to produce another work that Shakespeare audience might be interested in, and then another one that they might be interested in, because the purpose of it is to generate trust and to build a relationship. And that has to happen over time. And one show might get them interested, but it's going to take more than one show to actually forge a relationship with people who are going to be interested in staying. So the goal that I'm looking for is something I've read and I was put onto through some of the podcasts that I've been listening to, called the Technicum. I'll put that in the notes underneath just in case I've got the actual name wrong. But the basic concept is that you are looking for 1,000 true fans. The concept being that 1,000 true fans would be willing to spend $100 a year with you, whatever that might be, whatever your product is. For me, in this case, it'll be productions, shows, it could be merchandise, whatever. And not in one go. It could be 2 or 3 shows across the year. But that concept of having 1,000 people truly dedicated to your brand or your product, that they're willing to spend $100 a year with you, all of a sudden you have a $100,000 a year business. And so this is down this whole track of honing in and starting in a very specific way, building audience, building relationship with that audience that then brings them back time and time again. Now, that's not to say that audience will be the only audience I ever produce for, because if you imagine the whole market of the theatre audience as a pie, yes, we're going down the pie chart road. So imagine that the whole theatre audience market is a pie. And you can split that pie into a number of different ways. You could split it in half between adults and kids, or you could split it into people that like comedy or educational shows or histories, drama, so that's 4 different parts of the pie. And you can split that pie up in any number of ways. But that's the starting point. So I've set myself two vision goals, which are going to be the overriding kind of ideas that I keep coming back to make sure that I'm on track for what I actually want to achieve. And they're very simple. They're very simple. The first one is that I must enjoy everything I'm producing. If I'm not creating something that I'm enjoying, that I'm not interested in, then why am I doing it? If I'm not actually doing it to build something that I love, well, I'm going to do a worse job, and then my audience will lose trust, and then I won't have an audience. So, number one, I must, absolutely must love everything that I'm producing. The second one, which is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for some parts of what I'm doing, but it's a challenge I really want to take up because it's something that I've been sitting on for a long time that I really want to pursue. And that is that everything I create must have the potential for a global audience. Now, that's pretty easy for a film project. You can throw it on YouTube or send it out to film festivals. Not so easy for a theatre show. How am I going to take a theatre show and create it in such a way or construct something around it, a framework around it that allows it to have the potential for a global audience? I'm not going to worry about that just yet. That's a challenge for later. That's a problem I don't have to worry about because I'm not creating a product yet. But it's something that will become part of the challenge of creating the work and structuring the support and the framework around how it's created. So I'm actually going to start creating a theatre project and a film project. So I've decided for the theatre project that I'm actually going to target a kids audience. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I love performing for kids. It's pretty simple. They're fun to produce for. They really are. I just think it's great. I love seeing kids' faces light up when they have fun and they're sitting in a theatre show having a great time and they get excited about it. And then they go out and they're re-performing themselves, the bits that they've seen, and they take on the characters and they play. I love producing for kids. I think they're great fun. So I'm going to target the kind of 6 to 10 year old, 6 to 11 year old type age group. That seems like quite a wide gap, but the younger kids there are still really excited about coming to see shows, and that's just towards the end of the age where they start to think it's not cool anymore. So I think that age group is also an age group where parents are thinking about things that they can take the kids to, particularly in school holidays, that they want to fill up some time. And so a theatre show is going to be something of interest to them because those kids are still at the age where they're actually trying to take their kids to things, as opposed to that sort of early to mid-teenage years where the kids have decided it's just not cool and they just want to hang out with their friends and they just want to bum around the house, whatever. And it's actually harder to get them out to stuff. So one of the decisions that I've had to make about this is about how easy it's going to be to get people to come and see the show. And so that age group, it's actually going to be easier to get to get parents who are the decision makers to come and bring their kids to that show. The next thing is about where they have to go. So rather than try and find a venue up in the city and bill it as something that's really exciting to go to the city, I'm going to make it easy by actually going to them. So I'm actually going to find a venue somewhere local to a certain area, and of course, to make it easy for me, that area will be the 4 or 5 suburbs around where I currently live. I can produce something down there, I can find a location to perform it in that area, and that just makes it easy for parents because they don't have to travel so far, it's close to home. And so again, just pulling down more of those obstacles that are going to stop a parent deciding to take their kid. For the film project, I'm kind of keen to really hone in on something that I've been wanting to produce for a very long time, and it's really steeped in one thing that I constantly come back to in the work that I do and the training that I give other people, and that is improvisation. So I've decided that I'm going to create an improvised film work, an improvised film project that will be focused for adults, so that'll actually have an adult audience, and it will be again comedy based because that's what I enjoy most about producing. That's the thing I like to produce the most. So, adult audience, comedy based, and built around improvisation. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to produce both of these works at the same time. I'm going to want to make sure that I really focus in, and whichever one I start, whichever one I produce first, do great and give it the attention that it's going to require to make sure that it's excellent and not just good, because it doesn't matter how much I like it. If it's not great, then people won't come and see it and they won't come back. So that's step one done. I've set myself a bit of a strategy to work through as a framework. Must be enjoyable, must have the potential for a global audience. That'll be a measure I use as I go along creating the work. And now we've honed in on some target markets. So that's really step one. The next step will be about how we get to that market and how we test the ideas for the products that we want to get to them. So in this case, obviously, it's some shows. We're going to find out if these are going to be the sort of shows that that audience is interested in seeing. That'll be for next time. So for now, thank you so much for watching. If this is of interest to you and you want to keep seeing more of this, then like, comment, share the video, because that's going to help me, obviously. Hit the bell so that you get the notifications of when the next episode comes out. And thanks for watching. See you next time.